Hello, you guys. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. I am your host, Karen Bailey. Let me know when you're on so I can say hello to you. I'll give you guys a minute or two to jump on and then we'll get started for today. We've got an exciting topic today. Last week, I hope you guys were able to get something out of the message of counterfeit blessings. You know, a lot of times things look like there's something that they're not, and we get wrapped up, we get tangled up, we get almost dependent on it, and then we find out that it's not what it was supposed to be, or that it was not from God. Sometimes the enemy will send people your way simply because he knows what you like. He knows your desires because we speak it out of this mouth all the time. So, counterfeit blessings, they happen to all of us. The point is, you got to make sure you don't spend years and years on something that's not for you or something that's not from God. So you want to be able to recognize the signs pretty soon on that something is just not right. And you have to follow that voice when it says there's something not right and not ignore the red flags. And you have to understand when something is being a distraction. Something may seem good to you, but it may be a distraction. It may actually be keeping you from being the best person you can be. And that's a counterfeit blessing. Because anything from God is going to help you excel. It's going to help you be better. It's going to enhance what you've already got going on. So that's another way to know that it's actually the real thing. If you get better because of it, then it's a true blessing. But if it's holding you back or taking you back to your old ways, more than likely it's a counterfeit blessing. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started for today in the interest of time. Our topic today is I'm done crying over it. You have to make up your mind to be done with some things. We said this once before in one of our lessons. You have to decide how much time, how much energy you're going to give to something. And a lot of times we just get overly emotional about things because we get so disappointed, and it's hard when you expect something, to be great, or you expect somebody to be loyal, or you expect somebody to treat you the way you treat them, and then they disappoint you. Of course you're going to cry about that. Of course that's going to hurt. But you have to come to a point in your life where you say, you know what? I'm done crying over that. I've shed my last tear over that yesterday. Today, I'm done with that. And you have to make up your mind because you don't want to be held in bondage to something that happened in your past. And so let's move forward. This week, we're going to be talking about how situations that no longer are worth our time, no longer are worth our emotion, no longer are worth our energies, are also no longer worth our tears, you guys. It's natural, like I said before, to cry about things, but don't cry too long. Because one thing we have to learn in life is that nothing stays the same. Some things may start out good, but if you can't adjust to it, or if it's not fitting in your life right now, sometimes you have to let things go, even though you want them really bad. But there's no sense in wasting years and decades crying over the same thing. What's done is done. You can't undo it by crying. So we have to make up our mind that we want to get our power back. Some of us have been defeated just because of things that have been done to us in our lives. And I can speak on that because I went through a period where I felt defeated. I felt less than. I felt like, how do I keep allowing these things to happen to me? But then I had to make up my mind one day. I was tired of being that person that's always thinking about those things. I was tired of being the one with the circles up under my eyes and crying, at the drop of a hat or things of that nature. I had to make up my own mind. And I have to decide that I want my power back. I want to be able to control my emotions. I want to be able to say when I'm done with something. And that requires you to get your power back as a woman, as a warrior. A lot of times we get so caught up in the battle and defeating someone that we forget God put that warrior spirit in us. And regardless of how it ends, you're still a champion. If you go through it and you do it the best way you can, Even if it looks like you didn't win, you still win because you didn't give up. You stayed in the fight. And that's the whole battle right there, just staying in the fight. Now, emotional overload happens to us sometimes. And like I say, it just depends on what it is. And while crying is a normal way to express your pain, your sadness, your disappointment, it's not normal to allow a bad situation to steal months and even years from your life. That's not normal. You know, it's okay to grieve for a little while. It's okay to cry about it for a little while. It's even okay to want to stay to yourself for a little while. But at some point, you need to be able to come out of that and say, you know what? It happened. I can't do anything about it. Now I'm ready to move on with my life. Now that's normal. And while one is perfectly healthy, it's healthy to cry. But like I said, it's unhealthy and it's toxic to your body to stay sad for long periods of time, to dwell on something that hurt you for a long period of time. That's literally toxic to your body, to your physical body. It's toxic to your health, and it's also toxic to your mind, you know, because what you allow yourself to feed on is what you're going to project. So if you've all got this negative that you're feeding on, this is what happened to me, this is who hurt me, I can't believe they did me like this, guess what? That's what you're going to put out in the world. You don't have anything good to put out because all you're eating is all that negativity, all that sad stuff, all that hurtful stuff. You have to remind yourself, yeah, while that happened, guess what? It's not happening anymore. It's over. It's behind me. Okay? And let's talk about the cause of emotional overload. Why is it that we allow something to consume us for years, for months, for decades? You know, a lot of the causes have a root to it. So you have to understand that, you know, that comes from something. That's just not normal to allow something to just take over your life like that. Somewhere you've gotten off track. Somewhere you've gotten your priorities out of order. If that one thing can throw your life into a tailspin. And let's talk about some causes. The first one, childhood trauma. Unresolved issues from your past. That makes you more vulnerable. That makes you more emotionally unstable. And yes, I said some of us are emotionally unstable. I was there myself, so I can say it. But those things that you don't get resolved from your past, they just pile on. They just tack on. And somebody can say something to you and they not even mean it the way you thought they meant it, but because of stuff that you've been through in your past, you'll get offended or you'll start crying over it. That's when you know you've got emotional overload, because a lot of times that person is saying, what did I do? I didn't mean it like that. I was just kidding. You know, think about that. Sometimes we just have not handled our past properly. We haven't put things in their proper perspective. Hey, Alva, put things in their proper perspective. A lot of times if we don't put those things away, I like to talk about our past experiences. I know this is what I had to do. I had to put those past experiences. I've got like a drawer. You know, think of a chest dresser drawer. I don't know what they call them now, but we used to call them chests with about 5 drawers in it. You have to, hey DeAndre, you have to put those things in your past in categories and put those things away. You can't continue to revisit the past hurt and the past pain and think that your life is going to be smooth and think that you're going to be happy. You have to be able to categorize that pain, deal with it, accept your part in it, and then you need to put it in that drawer, in that chest, and you need to put it away. And you need to leave it there because that's your past. The only time you need to pull those things out is if you're trying to help another sister and explain to her what you've been through and to let her know how, even though you went through that, look at you now. That's the only thing that past is good for, is encouraging somebody else. But as long as you dwell on the past, as long as you keep opening those drawers, you keep pulling little things out that you never got resolved, that's going to consume your whole life. And before you know it, 10, 20, 30 years are going to be gone. And all of this is going to be consumed with stuff that's happened and that you can't do anything about. So let's not waste our years on that, you guys. So the number one cause is childhood trauma and unresolved issues from your past. That makes you overly emotional, overly sensitive. Number 2, living with unforgiveness. When you don't forgive others and you don't forgive yourself, yeah, you become emotionally overloaded. Yeah, it doesn't take much to offend you. Yeah, you cry at the drop of a hat because somewhere you don't see yourself as worthy of forgiveness, and then you're stubborn or you're just not willing to forgive others. And that holds you in a holding pattern. You can see life passing you by, but you can't move. Unforgiveness is like quicksand. That's the best analogy I can give y'all, because that's how it was shown to me when I was harboring unforgiveness. I was sinking. Everybody in life was going on without me. Here I was holding on to who hurt me, how they did me, how they treated me, and this, that, and the other. Life was passing me by, you guys, and I was sinking further and further, and I wanted to go forward. But guess what? Until I forgave them and until I chose to forgive myself, I couldn't move. I couldn't move. All I could do was see life passing me by. All I could do is see what I wanted to do, but I couldn't reach anything simply because I was holding that forgiveness. And guess what? You don't harbor forgiveness. Forgiveness holds you. You think that you're holding forgiveness. No, forgiveness holds on to you. And it's like a chain around your neck. And when you begin to forgive yourself and you forgive others, you're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel those chains coming off of you. You're going to feel a sense of, I can do anything. Simply because you let go of that big heavy thing that's been holding you back. So living with unforgiveness will cause you to be in an emotional overload. Number 3, sometimes you just need to heal. Sometimes we try to move through life and groove through life like everything's okay. No, you took a major hit. No, you took a major hurt. Everybody knows about it. You know about it, but you're pretending like you're okay. But guess what? On the inside, you're not healed. And everything you touch more than likely won't work out for you. And then you won't understand that until you get healed from this, you can't move forward either. So healing is very important. And people that don't get healed, are easily offended. They tend to offend others. They're rude. They take things the wrong way. Their understanding is horrible. You can mean something some way and you can say one word out of place and they're mad at you and won't even talk to you anymore. That's because they need to heal. And that is so important for you to be the person that you want to be. To be productive, you have got to heal those wounds. And I'm not talking covering them with a Band-Aid. I'm talking they have got to be healed so you can be whole and so that you can move on. And you'll find out when you are healed, then you don't get offended as easily. I know that's what happened for me. Once I finally got my healing from all the pain and the hurt I had in my past stuff, now I can shake it off. I'd be like, girl, what? Were you trying to be, what? Oh, I didn't even know you were trying to be smart. I don't even recognize those things anymore because I'm in such a good place that those things just slide over me. It's like darts. They just going past my head. And I'm not even thinking anything of them. But that's what happens when you get healed. You're not so focused on who's doing what to me and what did they say, how are they looking at me, what did she mean by that. None of that stuff will matter when you get healed. Number 4, sometimes we use our crying and our emotions as a tool of manipulation. And that's something we've done our whole life. And that's why you have emotional overload, especially if it doesn't work for you. You may run into somebody that your tears don't affect. But you've been using this your whole life to get your way. And now you're having basically a temper tantrum because nobody's paying attention to you. You're not getting your way. That's why you're in emotional overload, because everyone in your life has allowed you to use your tears as manipulation to get what you want. Nobody's ever stood up to you and said, enough of that. Stop all of that. Sometimes you need somebody to just stand up to you and say, you know what? I see you. Wipe your face. Stop all of that. It don't take all of that. We're listening to you. You don't have to put on a show. And you need a good friend that'll get you straight like that. Number 5, we end up crying over our own choices because we didn't wait on God. I'm a witness to that, y'all. I can raise both of my hands. I cried over things that God was trying to keep me from, but because of my own desires, I dove in anyway. And I ended up spending a lot of years with a lot of tears for something that God didn't even send into my life. And until I could recognize that and I could go to God and said, I'm sorry for not listening. I'm sorry for being disobedient. I'm sorry for taking something that you didn't give me. Until I could do that, then I was crying all the time. But once you realize that God still loves you anyway, you'll dry those tears up. You'll dry those tears up, and you'll do your best not to make that same mistake over and over again. Number 6, a lot of reasons why we have emotional overload is because we've been bullied. A lot of us, I was bullied a lot as a child. I was skinny, I had buck teeth, I wasn't pretty, so I got bullied a lot, as a child. And even as a young adult, people in my life, would always, just override what I said or try to make me do things I didn't want to do or what felt like people just coming against you. That was happening even in my adult life. And because nobody ever taught me how to stand up to my bully or stand up to my Goliath, I thought I just had to take it. So I was quiet, just trying to get along with everybody, and I shed my little tears in private and tried not to let anybody see me crying. But that was my mistake. Because one thing about it, until you deal with a bully, until you deal with Goliath, they will not leave you alone. Hey, Shakita, they will not leave you alone. And all you can do is stand. And I learned that as I got older, that you're not going to walk over me. You're not going to talk to me any kind of way. I don't need your presence in my life. So if that's what it's going to take for you to stop trying to bully me, then walk away. Don't call me. Don't spend any time with me. I'm good with that. But you're not going to bully me. And you have to stand up to those things that are standing up against you. Because when you know God is on your side, you don't have to worry about it. He'll take care of them. You have to allow him to take care of them. And number 7, another reason why we have so much emotional overload, we become accustomed, you guys, to being the victim. Sometimes being the victim is all we know. We've been dealing with things our whole life and don't realize there's a better way to live. People have always treated you a certain way and you've always allowed it. So you've always been a victim your whole life. Aren't you tired of that? Aren't you tired of not feeling like you're enough? You have to make up your own mind that you don't want to be treated a certain way. You have to make up your own mind that you're not a victim. Yes, it happened to me. Everything I've said has happened to me. When I was going through domestic abuse, I was like, yeah, that happened to me. And for a while, I was a victim. But now I'm not a victim because I got out of that situation and I know how to talk to women and I know how to encourage them so that they can get out of it. So I'm no longer a victim of that situation. But if I had allowed myself to stay there, I would be a victim. Because simply I'm allowing those things to happen to me over and over and over again. And that's what a victim is. You just repeated offenses, repeated abuse, repeated, things happening to you. You have to stand up, even if you have to stand by yourself, even when you're scared sometimes, and you have to stop people and say, no more. No more. I'm not tolerating this anymore. That's how you get your power back. You open your mouth and you mean what you say. There ain't nothing worse than a person that'll say something and then next time you turn around, they doing the opposite. There's nothing worse to me than a person like that. But when you decide you're tired, when you decide you've had enough, when you decide today is your day for a change, oh yeah, you'll stand up. And then that's the day you're going to get your power back. A whole lot might not change, but your mindset has changed. Once your mind changes, once that light clicks on, because I had a light bulb click on for me that said enough, a lot didn't change that same day, but guess what? My mind started changing. I started thinking different. I started strategizing how I was going to get out of it, what I was going to do, how I was going to make it, how I was going to budget. I strategized my way out of it. And on top of that, I prayed my way out of it. I had enough sense to realize I wasn't in it by myself. You're never in it by yourself. So understand, God is always with you. He's just waiting for you to open your mouth and say, God, help me, direct me, guide me so that I can get out of this bad situation. But a lot of times we're so accustomed to being the victim to where we're just like, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, it's not like that every day. Oh, we got an excuse for everything. But if you like being the victim, you will always be the victim. But you've got to make up your mind that you deserve better. Number 8, the reason why we have emotional overload is because we haven't discovered healthy outlets to manage our stress. Stress will send your emotions through the roof. Trust me, I know. I'm on vacation starting today. Praise the Lord. Stress will send your emotions into overload, because guess what? When you're stressed, everything is off balance. Your thinking is off balance. Your emotions are off balance. What you're doing, your moves are off balance. Stress will throw you completely off. And as long as you're dwelling in stress and you never find a healthy way to alleviate some of that stress, your emotions are going to be heightened. You're going to be upset easily. You're going to get mad easy. You're going to cry easy, simply because you've got too much weight on you. And until you find a way to release some of that, to let go of some of that, learn how to delegate some things, learn how to tell everybody, look, I need an hour by myself. Don't call me. Don't text me. I need to go for a walk. This, that, and the other. You've got to make time to take care of yourself. And when you don't do that, your emotions are going to go into overload, and you don't know which way they're going to explode. Okay? Number 9, we allow things to build up in our emotions. That's, again, trying to handle too much on your own. Subconsciously, you're building up emotions. Things that frustrate you, you just keep going. It frustrates you, but you never say anything about it. It makes you mad, but you don't say nothing about it. You keep going. Before long, all of those things are going to build up. They're going to build up, build up, build up. And you're going to have that day where you break. And when you break, everybody going to feel it. Everybody going to know about it. You won't even understand why you can't stop the crying. It'll be uncontrollable. That's when you know that that dam has broken. Just like too much water rushing up against the dam, too much emotions rushing up against you all the time, and you trying to function like stuff doesn't bother you, eventually it's going to break. And when it breaks, you're going to break. And it's not worth it, because it's hard to come back from that kind of breakdown, you guys. It's not worth it. Learn to open your mouth. If people love you, you ought to be able to tell them when they're upsetting you. You ought to be able to tell them, hey, you're frustrating me with that. Come here, let's sit down and talk about a different way of doing this, because you're working my last. Good nerve. You need to be able to talk to people that you love and that say they love you. That way you're not in a constant state of trying to bite your tongue all the time, walk on eggshells all the time. I lived like that, you guys, for a while, of having to not say anything to keep people from being mad, for tiptoe around things that were eating me up inside. And eventually I broke. And when I broke, I broke. And it took a while for me to come back and get everything back together. And I'll tell anybody, it's not worth it. If I could go back in time, I would say what I needed to say, regardless of who got mad, regardless of who walked out, whatever. But I would not have allowed all of that stress to build up on me. Number 10, hormonal shifts. Ladies, our hormones shift as we get older. Things happen as we get older. And it makes it more vulnerable for you to be offended, more emotional. A lot of times women have depression simply because their hormones are shifting. So if you're having those kind of things, talk to your doctor about it. Talk to your doctor about it and see what they can do to help you. See what they recommend for you. We all go through it, you guys. And there's nothing wrong with you just because you're going through hormonal shifts. You just need to find out what you can do to try to get things back in balance again, so that you can feel more like yourself again, so that you won't have those crying spells, so that you won't be sitting around not feeling like doing things. We don't want to spend our life just wasting it away because we're too proud to ask for help. So don't be ashamed to sit down with your doctor and say, hey, I don't know why I'm crying like this all the time. I get irritated easily. I get frustrated easily. I can't think straight. Sit down and talk to your doctor. That's what they're there for. And it's not always about medicine. Sometimes they need to prescribe a therapy for you. Sometimes you need to see a counselor. Sometimes you need a herbal medication. It's not always about prescription, you guys. Sometimes you just need to talk to an expert about something that you know nothing about. If it's new to you, you need to talk to somebody that knows something about it. And number 11, another cause that keeps us in emotional overload is refusing to let go of what's hurting you. I've done that, you guys. Tried to hold on to something that was hurting me because I felt like I could make it better. I'll just try a little bit harder. I'll do this. I'll change that. I won't say this. I won't do that. And guess what? That thing that's hurting you, if that thing is not for you, it may get better, but it'll be temporary. Because what's for you is for you. If it's not for you, at some point, you're going to lose it anyway. Or you should lose it unless you want to continue to hurt for the rest of your life. So we got to let go of things that's hurting us, you guys. And we got to stop getting so attached to things. Stop getting so attached to people. Some of our bad habits are hurting us. Smoking is hurting us. Drinking too much is hurting us. Eating too much is hurting us. Those are the things that we don't want to give up. But guess what? They're hurting us in some kind of way. And you got to make up your mind that you're worth more than whatever that thing is that's hurting you. Because you are worth more than that. But you have to realize it for yourself. And let's talk about the effect of our emotional overload. We just talked about the cause, but let's talk about the effect. When you're always emotional all the time, always mad all the time, or always crying or yelling or screaming all the time, you lose credibility. Number one, you lose credibility. People stop really paying attention to you because you react like that all the time. Or people stop wanting to talk to you because they're afraid you're going to overreact. People label you as a drama queen. You too much for them. Don't feel like dealing with her today. That's what happens to you when you're always dealing with emotional overload and you're putting that out in the atmosphere and it's affecting other people. They don't want to deal with you. You're just too much for them. You take too much of their positive energy away. So let's work on that, you guys. Number 2, you waste time, energy that could be spent on doing something productive. That could be spent on learning something new, going somewhere new, meeting someone new. But if you always caught up in your emotions all the time, you're not going to want to do that. And it's going to be hard for you to meet new people. It's going to be hard for you to make friends when you don't have your emotions in check. Number 3, we talked about this a minute ago. You live in the past instead of moving forward. You can't move forward because you're worried about everybody that hurt you in the past. You're still crying over who did what to you in the past. Let that stuff go. Those people have moved on. They're not thinking about you. Forgive them, folks. Even if they never say they're sorry, forgive them and move on. People have learned to move on without you. You're the only one still stuck in time crying about old stuff. Let that stuff go and move on. Okay? Another effect is you temporarily forget how blessed you are when you're always dwelling on what you lost, what you don't have, instead of appreciating everything that you do have. Because, honey, I'll tell y'all, I posted, I said, you know what? God does more for me than I'll ever deserve. Because I know me. I know how I mess up. I know how I fall short all the time. But I have to thank him even when things don't work out, because even if that didn't work out for me, even if I didn't get that I wanted, or that person wasn't for me, this, that, and the other, I have to think about all that he has done that I know I do not deserve. So I don't have time to dwell on that. Yeah, it'll hurt for a minute. It'll hurt, especially when it comes to people. It'll hurt for a minute. When somebody's not who they said they were, or they've wasted your time, your energy, and they've tugged at your heartstrings. That mess hurts. But you know what? You're not going to die. You're not going to die. You're going to dust yourself off, and you are going to move on. You got to make up your mind, because I promise you that person ain't sitting up crying over you like you crying over them. Believe me. So you need to get up and move on and learn to appreciate what you have and thank God for trusting you with what you have and for giving you more than what you deserve. Number 5, another effect is prolonged sadness. When you have prolonged sadness, it often leads to depression. So if you decide you want to stay sad, if you decide that you don't want to get over something, you're setting yourself up for depression. You are setting yourself up, and you're making room for the enemy to come in and say whatever he wants to say to you, because he loves people that are sad. Oh, he gets in your ear when you sad, honey. I promise you he does. So you have to make up your mind, even though this hurts, even though this makes me sad, I'm going to be okay. You got to talk to yourself, I'm going to be all right. And you will be all right. But you have to not stay in a state of being sad for prolonged periods of time, you guys. Even when we lose a loved one, you guys, you know, we grieve, we hurt, depending on how close they are to us. But that loved one would not want you spending your life crying over them, sad over them. They would want you to cry your tears. Yes, they want you to miss them, but they want you to live your life. Anybody that has been sick or has felt like their life has been shortened in some kind of way, I guarantee you they wish they had more time to enjoy their life. They wish they had more time, and so why wouldn't they wish that for you? So while you've got time, you need to use it to the best of your ability, because none of us knows how much time we have. So I know our loved ones wouldn't want us to spend years in sadness and crying over them. When they've moved on, you need to move on too. And prolonged sadness in the worst case scenarios will lead to suicide. That's where that suicide comes from, that prolonged sadness. They never snap out of it. And when you don't snap out of it, guess what? The enemy, he's going to play in your head. Hey, Kinsley, he's going to have a field day with you, because he's going to tell you life is not worth living, which is the biggest lie in the world. Because Jesus said, I came that you may have life, and that you may have life more abundantly. He's not going to lie. He's not going to lie. That's why it's so important to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, because while that voice is trying to talk to you, guess what? God is going to override it and remind you of who you are and remind you of the sacrifice he gave for us, so that you can have a more abundant life. Just because this situation didn't turn out like you want, you got more life to live, honey. You got to get past that. You got to come up with something else you want to do. You got to decide to go to the chalkboard and mark that off and say, okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's figure out something else I want to do just as much as I wanted to do that. You have to learn how to move on and wipe the slate clean and start over. Just start over. Number 6, another effect is the inability to get over hurt or pain of a breakup or a bad situation can cause us to miss opportunities. God can be sending opportunities, once in a lifetime opportunities your way. But if you're stuck in sadness, if you're stuck being the victim, if you're stuck crying over old stuff, guess what? You're going to miss that whole opportunity. And guess what? It may not come back. Sometimes opportunities come back around, but sometimes when you're not in the place where you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing, that opportunity moves on to somebody else. So you don't want to miss those opportunities in life, because sometimes they're once in a lifetime. So don't waste your life being sad over something. Yes, I understand it hurts. Baby, I know about crying in the pillows and hugging your pillow, crying just wet in the morning. I know all about that. But guess what? If I could take that time back, I wasted doing that. Baby, I'd do it in a minute. I would do it in a minute, because what I was crying over was not worth it. It was not worth it. And then number 7, when you stay in a state of heightened emotions or emotional overload, you forget how strong you are. You forget how many things that you've already gone through, that you've made it through, simply because you got your focus on the wrong thing. You got your focus on what went wrong this time, instead of thinking about all the stuff that did go right. And a lot of times we'll start condemning ourselves and feeling bad about ourselves, letting that guilt just consume us. You know what? Take that guilt to the cross and say, God, you know what? I did that. And I know I wasn't supposed to do that. God, I don't want this guilt anymore. Take this guilt from me. I'm going to do my best not to do that ever again. Give that guilt over. Give it over. You don't have to live with guilt. If you're willing to change your life and do something different, don't condemn yourself. Don't condemn yourself. Forgive yourself, and you need to move on, because God will forgive you because He knows you're worthy. You just have to know that you're worthy of forgiveness. And you have to also know that you're worthy to be loved. And a lot of times that's our issue. People have not loved us the right way. And trust me, I'm a living witness of that. When you haven't been loved properly, you don't really know how to love. I was talking to a friend the other day. I said, you know what? I hope I'll know love when it comes, because I haven't been loved properly in my life. You know, people have not made it easy for me in life. You know, I've made some mistakes. I've made some poor choices. And because of those choices, you know, I learned negative behaviors when it comes to love. I learned the flip side of what it's like for somebody to really love you. I know what it's like to be misused. I know what it's like to be manipulated. I know those things. So to be loved properly, I hope that I won't resist that, simply because I haven't truly experienced that. And that's something I pray for myself all the time, is God, don't let me run real love away because I don't understand what it is. You know, calm me down. You know, it's just kind of like the 23rd Psalms when it says, He leadeth me beside the still waters. He maketh me lie down. Sometimes I need God to make me lie down so that I can quit overthinking. I can not let my emotions take over and ruin something that He's trying to give me. So I have to ask God all the time, you know, when it's real, God, show me that it's real and help me to calm down, to sit down by the quiet stream and let me learn about this thing instead of being afraid of being hurt again. Because a lot of us, I know I'm not the only one, we're afraid of being hurt again. We're afraid of not being loved the way that we know we're supposed to be loved. But that's okay. And I'm not afraid to admit that, because you know what? Because I can tell God about it, He'll work on it. He'll work on it. And I don't want to spend my days crying over old stuff. So you have to make up your mind. Enough is enough. So let's talk about how to get your power back, you guys. Because even though you've been here before with the tears and the emotions and everything, when you finally get tired, we got to find a way to get our power back. Get back to our strong person. Get back to that person that holds her head up or his head up, you know, with the confidence to say, you know what? So what, that didn't work. I'm still good. You know, we got to figure out how to get back to that. Now, number one, how to get back to your power. Recognize that crying about it won't change anything. What's done is done. And crying won't make it better. Crying won't make it better. It won't change what's already done. Crying is just your way of releasing the emotions. So number two, you got to make up your mind that dwelling on the pain is not benefiting you. It's not benefiting your life, but you have to see that for yourself. And make the declaration. I've cried my last tear about this today. I'm done with this, because all it's doing is making me sad. All it's doing is holding me back. All it's doing is keeping me from being able to take care of stuff like I'm supposed to take care of it. Because when you're crying about stuff all the time, you can't take care of your kids. You can't take care of your home. You can't take care of your finances. There's a lot of stuff you can't do because you're distracted by your sadness. You're distracted by your pain. You have to make up your mind that I'm done with that. Yes, it's there, but I can't let this be my focus. I've got more important things in my life to take care of. Okay? So number three, you've got to adjust your focus. Put your focus and your energy on what's going right instead of always thinking about what's going wrong in your life. What's going right, go there, work on that, and be the best at that you can be. On whatever's going right in your life, focus on that and do better with that. Don't worry about what went wrong. We'll worry about that later. But work on what is going right and focus your energy into that, to doing your best with what's going right. Number four, fight back. Stop allowing yourself to be in a pity situation. Quit inviting people to your pity party. Fight back. Start praying about it. Open your mouth. Tell people when they hurt you. Tell people when things that they're doing to you are not acceptable. Stop allowing any and everything to happen to you. You've got to change some of your behaviors so that you can fight back. Quit being so needy. Quit being so quick to pick up a phone and call somebody that you know is not good for you. You know, people expect that. They expect you because they think that you're weak. But you need to learn how to stand on your own. You need to learn how to be by yourself sometime. And you need to learn how to fight in prayer and ask God to help you to get those things out of your head that are hurting you, that are upsetting you all the time, that are keeping you crying. Number 5, get angry when you need to and stop pretending that it's okay when it's not okay. When somebody makes you mad, let them know. Like, hey, you know what? I don't like that, and we need to talk about this because we're not going to continue to deal with this. So I need to talk to you right now because we can't continue going on with this right here. Start accepting your responsibility for how you feel, and stop trying to appease everybody else. Because in the end, you're the one that's going to lose. You're going to have to speak up and let people know when you're not happy with something. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you have to allow them to tell you that as well. So just like you're not happy with something, they may not be happy with something. But nobody's saying anything because nobody wants to stir up anything. But once somebody opens their mouth, you'd be amazed at the conversation that you can get going. And you'll realize that other person may be having those same feelings too, but they were just afraid to say something. But we've got to stop pretending that everything's okay. When you're upset about something, let somebody know. Let that person know. And number 6, stop complaining. Stop complaining about everything. Like I said earlier, none of us deserves half the stuff that we have. God has been better to us than we've been to ourselves. So stop complaining. Quit complaining about it and do something about it. If there's something that you don't like, sit down and strategize how to change it so you don't have to keep dealing with it. Don't just stand around complaining about it, because some things you can change. And those that you can't change, make up your mind to understand that you can't change it and move on, but quit complaining about it. Number 7, identify your triggers. Identify what upsets you. Avoid those things that make you sad. You know, why are you going around somebody that's abusive to you, you guys? Quit going around people that are mean to you, people that make fun of you, people that don't even like you. Know your triggers. Quit going to those events just because everybody else goes and you don't even like 90% of the people that's there. Stop doing that. Quit wasting your time doing things that you don't enjoy doing. Know your triggers. Know your triggers. Stay away from people that are messy, that are going to piss you off and make you mad. Yes, I said piss you off. Stay away from those people. Limit your time with those people. And sometimes that's even going to be family members. You got to limit your time with people that trigger you and cause you from going to be happy, enjoying your life, to being upset and mad all the time. You got to learn how to avoid those things sometimes. And sometimes you got to put some distance between you and them. Number 8, you need to watch your language. What I mean by that, stop saying things like, I don't have a choice. There's nothing I can do. I just want to give up. Stop saying those things. Watch what you're saying out of your mouth. Because what you say out your mouth is going to go get something. And before you know it, you won't have a choice. There won't be anything you can do. And you will give up. So stop saying those things and letting those things get out of your mouth. Okay? So watch your language. Watch what you say. Number 9, build up your confidence. Work on you, boo. When things don't work out, when a relationship doesn't work out, when a job doesn't work out, you know what? Quit crying about it for so long. Start focusing on you. What can you do to make you better? What can you do to build on you? What can you do to raise your head up again? Because guess what? Somebody's watching you. Your children are watching you. They're learning how to handle situations by watching you. Even if you don't have kids, somebody is learning from you how to behave. And you owe it You owe it to them because you got breath in your body. You owe it to other people to be a light. You owe it to other people to lift your head up. Because this world has so much going on to keep everybody sad. Somebody's got to be a light. Somebody's got to show the world that even though we're going through this crazy stuff we're going through, that we have confidence. We know there's a higher power. We know that we're going to be all right. And that's you. That's your job to do that. And especially if you have children, it is your job to let your children see how you weather through a storm. Because they're going to learn from you how to do that. So when you go through things, don't spend all that time crying. Start figuring out ways to work on you. If you need to exercise, if you need to lose weight, if you need to go back to school, do all those things. Put your focus on those things and don't spend all your time laying in bed crying over something you can't change. Number 10, stop looking for approval from other people. You need to own your life, you need to accept your life, and you need to love your life. Love who you are. You don't need acceptance or approval from anybody else. And that was something I had to learn for myself because I always wanted everybody's approval. Now, approve of me or not, you can put a stamp on my forehead. It don't bother me. Because one thing about it, I know who I am and I love who I am and I know that I'm enough. And when you get to that point in your life, you'll stop looking and stop asking people their opinion all the time. People have different motives behind their opinion, and sometimes they're just not good. You don't ever know who really doesn't like you or who is throwing a little jab at you and you don't even realize it. You know, people do stuff like that. Some people are just jealous, you know, so quit looking for approval from others and learn to approve of yourself. Own, accept, and love who you are because you're enough and you have to believe that. And number 11, recognize what you can and cannot change or control. That's how you get your power back. Recognize those things you can change and sit down and strategize and make the necessary changes. But you have to also recognize those things you cannot change. And you have to find a way to live with it. You have to find a way to live through it. You know, it is what it is. So sometimes you just got to walk through the fire and get to the other side. And my final thought, you guys, while no one can experience your pain or walk in your shoes, we've all been hurt. We've all been disappointed in the past. And even though it may be hard to get past all of that hurt, we have to choose to let it go and truly be able to smile again. Life is too short to spend your days and months and your years suffering because of something from your past. Make a decision to be done with it, to be done shedding tears over it. It happened. Yes, it did. You can't change it. What's in the past, you can't undo. So decide your future is too important to be held captive by your past. Stop crying and fight for your joy. Fight for your peace and fight for your happiness because you're worth it. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. I am on vacation. Praise the Lord. So next week, I am going to take a vacation from our Talk About It Thursdays. And I will see you guys back on November the 10th. So I'm going to take a little break, spend some time with family and friends, and just chill for a little bit. And I will see you guys back on November the 10th. I love you guys. I'll be keeping my eye on the page. I'll be posting on the page. And keep encouraging one another, you guys. You're welcome, Miss Alva. Thank y'all so much for y'all's prayers. You know, like I said on my quick little video the other day, we've got people that are sick, or we got people that are just going through, you guys. You know, any chance you get just to send up a little prayer for the members on this page. God knows what we need. He just wants to hear from us that we're unified and that we're loving one another. So let's just send up prayers for each other. And I've got some praise reports, some good reports from some that were sick. I've got some, we still don't know what's going on, but it's not as bad as we thought it was reports. So just understand God is working, you guys. But we have to stand together unified and understand that the only way we're going to make it is if we have one another. We need prayer. We need unity. We need good thoughts. And we need positivity, you guys. Thank y'all so much for all that you do. And also, today marks our 2-year anniversary of Talk About It Thursday. So thank y'all for y'all support. And I'm going to keep it going as long as the Lord puts it in my spirit to do. And thank you so much. God bless you guys. Have an awesome, awesome weekend. Take care. All right. Bye.